Does your child wake up too early and leave their room before you would like them to? If so, this episode is for you. I'm going to share 3 tips to help your child stay in their room in the morning. Hi, I'm Allison Egidi, a pediatric sleep and wellness coach and a mom of 2. I love to help parents find solutions. This is How Long Till Bedtime. Once our kids are no longer in the crib, early morning wakings can become particularly tricky. Today, I want to share 3 quick tips that can help your child stay in their room in the morning, even if they wake too early. First, you should use a toddler clock or an okay to wake clock so they actually know when it's time to get up. I've talked about toddler clocks a ton on this podcast, but I want to reiterate that they are the best tool for helping young children know when it's okay to wake and it's okay to leave their room. I think every child who is 2 years old or older should have one of these okay to wake clocks or toddler clocks or light systems, whatever you want to call them. The key, as I discussed in episode 46, is following through and holding to the rule of your child not getting up and leaving their room to start the day before their light turns on. This leads me to my second tip. Set your child up for success. If your child is waking and leaving their room before 6 a.m., do not set their light to turn on between 7 and 7:30. I get that might be your ideal wake time for them, but the chance of them staying in their room that long and resisting the urge to leave is not very good. And as the parent, sticking to the rule and not giving in to letting your child leave the room before the light turns green or turns on is going to be much, much harder. You're going to be much more likely to say, okay, forget it. Go watch a show or go play with your brother. You're more likely to give in. Set your child up for an easy, or I guess I should say easier, victory as you get started. If your child is waking and leaving their room sometime between 6 and 7 a.m., set the light to turn on maybe about 5 minutes before they typically leave the room. If your child's waking before 6 a.m., start by setting that light at 6 a.m. Because ideally, I really do not want young kids starting the day before 6. And we also want to meet them as close to where they are. If you've been setting that light to turn on at a desired wake time that is a lot later than your child has been waking, this adjustment to moving it earlier, meeting them closer to where they are, will allow your child to have some easier wins. And it will help them start to believe that they can follow the rule of the okay to wake clock. Once your child is consistently staying in their room until that light turns on, you can start to push that time where the light comes on out a bit. I recommend pushing it out in 10-minute increments and then holding there for a few days to make sure everything is still good before you push it out again. Once a child is following the rule of the light, it's reasonable for them to stay in their room and wait somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes after they wake up. So if your child's waking closer to 6 a.m., a 6:30 wake time is probably reasonable. How easy it will be to push the time out, of course, is going to depend a bit on your child's personality and their patience. I find that keeping my kids' lights set at 6:30 allowed my early riser to not feel like she was pushed too far, and she was able to resist that urge when she was little. And my child, who often woke after 6:30, had a lot of easy victories, but this way their lights were set at the same time. My third tip is, in a way, also related to using an okay to wake or toddler clock. It can be very tempting to tell your child that they can get up and play or look at books in their room until that clock turns on. The problem with this is that unless your child tells time, it can result in children getting up for the day earlier and earlier. It might start with them waking at 5:45 and playing, and then over the course of weeks or months, that 5:45 a.m. could become 4:30 a.m. If your child is waking before 6 a.m., first of all, we want to figure out why, and you really want to tweak things to hopefully set them up to be sleeping at least past 6 a.m. And then part of the way of doing that and helping set them up for success is to have them continue to rest quietly so that if it's just a natural wake up where they need to get back to sleep, they are more likely to go back to sleep if they're staying in bed and resting, not if they're getting up and playing. Now, I know there are several okay to wake clocks or light systems out there that have a feature that allows you to set one light to come on when it's okay to play, and then another light to come on when it's okay to start the day. I know that's what a lot of these clocks are recommending. And while the feature could work for some kids, for others, it's going to open a can of worms because it's harder for us to enforce. So you may have that clock set to turn on for playtime at 6:30 a.m. and then turn on to leave the room at 7 a.m. But some kids are limit testers, and they're going to realize that you likely aren't going to wake up and interfere if they're up before 6:30 a.m. with their play light, and you're not going to catch them doing it. Or even if you do, let's be honest, if that light turns on for play and it's supposed to turn on at 6:30, but you hear at 6:15 your child is up playing, but they are staying in their room, you are less likely to go in and interfere. That can result in your child, again, getting up earlier and earlier in the day and you not following through, which are part of the issue with these clocks sometimes not working. So to make it clear for your child, I just like to have one light turn on in the morning when it is time to get up or when it's okay to get up and start their day. They could stay in their room and play, or they can leave and start their day. We want to make this simple and straightforward for both your child and for you, and we want to use these lights in a way that sets our child up for maximum sleep. If your child is struggling with staying in their room in the morning, I hope these 3 quick tips helped you. And I have a favor to ask. If you have found this podcast helpful, could you please take a moment to rate and review it on Apple or Spotify? We want to keep putting out this free resource for parents, and the more people who rate the podcast, the more parents we are able to reach. Your support means the world to our small but mighty team. See you back here next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to How Long Till Bedtime. To learn how we can work together to improve your child's sleep, please visit sleepandwellnesscoach.com.